Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of the Fishing Teacher, and much appreciated you guys checking out today's episode. And guys, today we're going to give tips and advice on how to choose the correct color of floating worm, because floating worms they come in a ton of different colors. Each one of them sort of has an application where they work the best. And also, one of the things I found out about floating worms is that depending upon the time of year you fish them, they prefer different colors. So at the time of filming this video, we're getting into the month of June, and June is probably about the last month that I like to fish a floating worm until it starts to get fall time again. So I sort of want to go through some of my favorite colors and give you guys the set of conditions they work best in today's episode. Also, guys, quick reminder, just like to invite everybody to please swing by and check out my Fish of the Moment lake map breakdowns. I'll put my lake map breakdown link in the description of this video. Guys, these are maps that I've built specifically for fishthemoment.com website, and they are great resources to learn more about if you have a favorite lake. It gives you some other good spots you've never been to before, GPS coordinates, how to get there, tips and advice on how to fish each spot, as well as a lake you've never been to before. So it's a really good way to get some good fishing spots. Link in the description. And also, guys, anyone interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, you can do that by going to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler. Just shoot me a private message for all the details there. So much appreciated. Okay, now floating worms to me, let's talk a little bit about the window that they work, and then I'm going to talk to you about the colors that work based upon the time of the year. Now, for me, floating worm, it's all about the water temperature window. So for me, it was like when the water temperatures are between like 55 to 70 degrees, this is when I fish a floating worm. Now, the 55 to 70 degree range, it can be like from March until June, or it could be like from October into December. I've probably done better on a floating worm in the fall time of the year than I have in the spring time of the year. I almost won 2 Bassmaster Megabucks tournaments in October on a floating worm. And I've had great floating worm success even up into December on lakes like Lake Lanier in Georgia. So that's sort of that window with that. Okay, now let's go through some of my favorites here. I've got about 5 or 6 different colors that I want to talk about here that I really like to use. So let's talk about right off the bat, one of the most brightest colors of worm is some type of a yellow or a chartreuse or lime truce. Also, guys, the only worm I use for my floating worm is a Zoom trick worm. I'll put my trick worm link in the description of this video if you guys would like to order some through Tackle Warehouse, and that link, you can get them through there. But this is the one you want to start out with. Guys, right off the bat, the first part of the year, when they first start biting a floating worm and that water temperature starts to get in the upper 50s, a bright colored worm is going to work the best because they have not seen them. They're not conditioned to them. They will get conditioned to this color very quick. So this is a color that I like to use like right off the bat. Another time that this color works good is in those very low light days. Like, say, for example, it's raining, it's dark out. This is going to be a good color regardless of your water visibility, and obviously in dirty water. If you're fishing a floating worm like in marginal water clarity for a floating worm, which would be like about 1.5 feet, chartreuse yellow can be really good. But guys, if it's raining out, like you get a day like it's raining out here right outside the tackle room now, if you get a rainy day, this is a good color to use. Now, along with those same lines, this is a similar color that works good in that, is the white one. Now, these are the two really, really bright colors in a floating worm, probably the two most popular. And the difference between a white one and a yellow one or a chartreuse one is the white one, to me, this is the color that I like to use in dirty water or off-colored water, regardless of the situation that you have as far as water temperature. It can work good if the water temperature is 55 or 70 degrees. But the difference between a white and a yellow one is the white will work good in dirtier water, even if the sun is out, like if it's bright sunny, whereas the chartreuse will work better in the clouds. So very similar conditions to the two, but the white or the, some type of a pearl color like that works good sunny days, partly cloudy days. And the thing that's cool about a white one is it puts off a really unique glow in the water, in that little bit off-colored water. One of the things that a lot of people don't fish a floating worm in is in that off-colored water. They think of it as a clear water bait, but you can catch them in stained water on it too. And when I'm talking about a floating worm, guys, I don't fish a floating worm on the surface. I'm fishing a floating worm inside, usually about that far into the water. So that's the scenario we're talking about. Okay, the next one is sort of it's another bright one, but it's a little bit more subtle. The popular bubblegum color. The bubblegum is another bright color, but it works a little bit better as far as being a little bit more subtle. It doesn't stand out quite as much. Bubblegum is a really good color in clear water. So if you've got water visibility of over about 4 feet and you've got some type of a little bit brighter conditions, bubblegum can work really good. Another thing bubblegum's good, guys, is fishing at wacky. You can fish it as a floating worm setup or wacky, but clear water, early in the year, bubblegum can be pretty good. Bubblegum's a bright color, so they can get conditioned to it. So when you talk about bright colors, these are the three right here: bubblegum, white, and yellow. These are the colors that work the best when the bass are aggressive and uneducated, and they haven't seen many. But as the season rolls on, and if you get more fishing pressure, you got to go to a more subtle color. And probably my most favorite subtle color, guys, is the old methylate. If you could give me one floating worm color to throw, it's the methylate. I've caught more bass on this color right here than any color that you can have. It is a clear water color. It works in clouds. It works in sunny conditions. It works for bass that are a little bit more highly pressured for and educated. Even though it's an orange worm, it's pretty subtle in the water. It doesn't stand out a lot, but it has a very unique color to it in the water. It almost looks, when you hold it up to the sun like this, like if you hold it up, it almost looks pink. It looks orange here, but like pink otherwise. But guys, methylate, you cannot beat it. Okay, and finally, guys, the other two colors that I use is a zoom. This is a baby bass color, and this is the Pro Blue, or some people call it the natural shell. These are translucent colors. They're more natural looking, and these are the ones that I use when the water is, when the fishing pressure is extremely heavy. The fish are extremely wary. You maybe have some calm, clear conditions, clear water. And when you have fish that look at a bright color, say for example, you're throwing this chartreuse here, the yellow one, and you see fish coming up looking at it and they don't bite it. If you go to the more natural looking colors like the Pro Blue here or the baby bass, you're gonna get those fish to hit it because they don't stand out as much in the water. They blend in a little bit more with the water, and they just work a lot better in a little bit cleaner water situations. So ultimately, another thing with this is those are some guidelines that you can use, but sort of just experiment. Because one thing that I found out about floating worm fish, they're either on a floating worm or they're not on it at all. It's like if you can get a few bites on a floating worm, a lot of times you can change colors throughout the day with the sunlight angles being different conditions, and you can continue to catch fish throughout the day. But if you can't get a bite on a floating worm and you've tried all the different colors out there, they're just not in the mood and the personality to bite it for the most part. So it's one of my favorite baits, guys. If you gave me 5 lures, say, Randy, you can only have 5 lures to fish with the rest of your life, a floating worm would be one of them, because when they bite a floating worm, guys, it is so fun to watch them. There's nothing like when you're working this floating worm, just underneath the surface, it's sort of going sideways like that. You see this big old bass just swim up slowly behind it and just put it in its mouth and start swimming out with it. It's a super fun way to catch them. So hope it helps you guys out. We'll talk later.